Welcome to the Shortwave radio channel, and here we take a look at another chunk of the Shortwave Spectrum. We're looking at 18 to 19 megahertz. What's at 18 to 19 megahertz? Well, this is a band that I tune regularly, mostly for one particular item, but I've heard a lot of things in there when propagation is actually there. What I mostly tune here is the 17-meter amateur radio band, which is a work band. These are new little chunks of amateur bands on the HF spectrum that were added later, and typically are areas where contests are not allowed. So the first bottom part of 18 megahertz is a small chunk of aeronautical communications that can actually exist up to about 18050. At 18068 to 18168, so 100 kilohertz wide, there's an amateur band, and it's the 17 meters amateur band. And actually here, if you look, there are some signals right now. So there's, for example, on 18100, there's some FT8 signals and stuff. So that's what you see here appear and disappear in signals. So these are signals from amateur radio, FT8. 068 to about 090 is Morse code. Then you've got a small chunk of digital modes, radio teletype, FT8, JT65, so on. Above about 18120, roughly, 18110, you have a band that is upper sideband amateur modes. So you can actually check out that chunk of frequency spectrum and hear different signals coming out of there on the amateur band. Even though the solar activity was quite low, it is still used actually. So now we of course have interference at the moment when I want to try to listen to this. Somebody obviously just started some thing. Here we go. So here you hear some FT8 and some different digital modes. Like I said, there are some Morse code, and of course up to 18168 you have some upper sideband voice comms. It's a very nice band actually. The 17 meter amateur band I like because it often has really nice DX. So this is a place to check out if you like to DX on the amateur band and listen to stations. A lot of stations use this part of the spectrum. And in times of low solar activity, it seems to be pretty much the highest frequency range where there's regular stations and regular amateur activity. And I've heard several stations in the past few weeks, basically. Then above 18168 to up to about 19,000, well, there's a lot of fixed mobile stuff. There's a small chunk that has some maritime stuff apparently also. So it's definitely a band to try and listen to and check out what it's all about. And finally, at the upper range, the upper part at 18890, something like that, up to 19 megahertz, you have a international broadcast band that was also added later. Some station used that 18 megahertz range a little bit, but lately I have not seen any stations use this this little chunk of international broadcast band. So I don't know if in the winter time maybe somebody will use it. A lot of stations don't use it, probably because many radios that have fixed international broadcast bands, sections like shortwave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, often don't have that range. So maybe that's one of the reasons a lot of stations stopped using it, because they didn't get a lot of reports from these frequencies. The fact also that it's pretty high in frequency and we are low in the solar cycle possibly doesn't help on this band also. But tune in, and it's a band that even in the low sunspot cycle, I can tell you that in midday in the daytime, there's often some activity scattered here and there of different things. So check it out, and do definitely check out the 17-meter amateur band, 18068 to 18168. If you enjoy our videos, please subscribe, give us thumbs up, and I hope you like our look at the shortwave spectrum, megahertz by megahertz.